across to Michael Kugelman. Again, the question that's being asked is, we already have one war that is happening right now, in case people have forgotten, Russia and Ukraine, and we're no closer to getting any kind of result one way or the other in that war. Can the world afford another one?
Well, the answer is obviously no. No one wants another war, neither the Americans or the Chinese or really anyone. But, I think that for Pelosi, the motivations for this visit are multiple. I mean, one could be to really see it through the lens of democracy. The idea that, what Pelosi would want to try to do is to show support for democracy by going to Taiwan. I think that there's a desire simply to underscore that the U.S. Or that Washington would be serious about an obligation to provide support to Taiwan if there were to be some type of conflict. But indeed, it is a very risky gambit at this point in time. I think that, especially given that there had been some signs of a possible détente between the U.S. and China, in that President Biden not too long ago spoke with President Xi. Clearly, this visit is going to squander any of progress that might have been made there. And, obviously, whenever you have a scenario like this, there's always the risk, when things are very tense, the risk for some type of miscalculation or a comment that's stated in a mistimed way that could raise the risk of escalation, and no one has an interest in that. But, final point, I'll follow the lead of James Dorsey in offering a bit more proper perspective. I mean, certainly China, the PRC will view this as a provocation, unfortunately. This is the House Speaker. This is not the Secretary of State. This is not the Secretary of Defense. So in that sense, the fact that Pelosi is making this trip as opposed to a Blinken or an Austin will not, or at least should not, be taken as much of a provocation by Beijing. But indeed, a very risky gambit at a very tense moment, and indeed also at a time when no one can afford another flashpoint, much less another conflict.
All right, give me a moment, Michael. Again, I want to open this up on our big wall. The pictures that you're seeing are on your right. These are live shots from the Taipei airport. And what they've done is, this is the Songshan Airport in Taipei. They have projected a giant hologram, I'm given to understand, onto a neighboring building, a skyscraper right next to the airport, with the words, "Welcome to Taipei." This is a live shot of the Songshan Airport in Taipei, coming to you live from there. And you can see this giant signage that's been projected onto a nearby building, a skyscraper, with the words, "Welcome to Taiwan." Now, clearly, there's something that the Taiwanese authorities know about this particular flight of Nancy Pelosi, a Spar 19, which is right now flying over Mindanao, over Davao City, expected to land in Taipei in the next hour and a half. Clearly, the Taiwanese, too, realize that the world's eyes certainly are on this visit. The world's eyes are also on what Beijing's next move would be. There are, of course, these mind games that have already started. You're seeing those pictures of the tanks out in Fujian and in Xiamen. Let me go to David Lyon and just give us a sense, a perspective, if you will. The Taiwanese also don't want to come across as increasing the rhetoric. The more you climb, the escalatory ladder of war rhetoric or war-like rhetoric, the more difficult it becomes to climb down.
No, you're right on Taiwan's side, but this does feel extraordinary overreaction on China's part, threatening military retaliation to a visit by a congresswoman. But I think we can also see that it shows China believing that America is much weaker in the region than previously. We've seen President Biden misspeaking a couple of times over Taiwan, needing corrections from his office, from the State Department, to get back to that policy of ambiguity if there were military action in Taiwan. But this all goes back to the withdrawal from Afghanistan last year, what we were going to be talking about in this program. And Afghanistan still very much, I think, in the headlines today because of the death of al-Zawahiri, but showing America's weakness in the region, the abandonment, betrayal of Afghanistan a year ago, and the sense that Russia certainly moved into Ukraine, possibly believing, misbelieving, mistaking really American intervention plans, American reaction to that. And I think you're also seeing potentially China pushing harder than they might do because they believe America under this administration to be weaker than it was.
It's quite